All right. Welcome, everybody. That's right. This is Bad Weather Fans with Mike and Alex. Mike Biseglia and Alex Beneswitz. That's myself, Alex Beneswitz. Mike is off today because he just had a new baby. That's not a very good excuse, but guess what? He needed to miss. And he had a very nice young little boy named Ryan Biseglia. Welcome to the world. Another Nets fan. What are you going to do? But we are on, this is Bad Weather Fans. So, like I said, this is on the Pros Club Network, home of a bunch of other podcasts. Mike Delivers Pod, Real Talk with Rex Walters, beer reviews. We have everything here on the Pros Club Network. I want to welcome, without further ado, our special guest host, Dolan J. Trump. Dolan Trump, how are you doing today?
Alex, thanks for having me on. Mike, congratulations once again. You're going to do a tremendous job. So enjoy the ride, man. Life's never the same once you have a kid, but it's always for the better.
Right. And we were just talking about this before we started. I actually have been out of the loop a little bit, and my fiance and I, we just adopted a little puppy, a nice mini American Shepherd. She's gorgeous. She's the cutest dog in the world, the smartest dog in the world. She's a prodigy, of course, and we have not slept this entire week. and it was my fiance's birthday last night, so I had a couple drinks, and I'm a little out of it, but it's 9 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, but I think we can take care of this. What do you think?
Yeah, you got it. We're good.
We got this.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get right into it. I wanted to start off with this in the Knicks news. We started off with Durant on the JJ Redick podcast, where he said, JJ Redick asked him, "Do you feel like you took the easy way out for a championship?" And Durant said, "No, what does that even mean? I played at an elite level in the finals. I earned that." Just completely delusional, doesn't get it, or he's just, self-conscious and he knows what people are saying, in my opinion. And then JJ Redick asked him straight up. He didn't just bring up the Knicks. To be fair to Durant, he goes, "I never planned on going to the Knicks. I didn't want to be the savior of the Knicks or New York. I didn't care about being a king of New York." Now, Dolan Trump, what do you think? Do you think that shows him being soft, that he's finally admitting it? It wasn't because of the pressure of the Knicks fans. It was actually because of the media is the reason why he didn't come. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I think the whole thing is ridiculous. I mean, for him to admit that first of all, I think the fact that he's still like self-conscious about the NBA Finals,
Right.
how he performed there, and it almost reminds me of what was Rocky V when Tommy Gunn. Remember the worst of the Rocky series.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that one when Tommy Morrison plays Tommy
Yeah.
Gunn and he's like a protege, and like when he wins the title and everyone's still saying like he's no Rocky Balboa, and he's just like he's still like he's like, what do I have to prove that I'm the champion? This is and then obviously goes to Rocky's house and challenges him to a fight. It's like. Yes, Durant, he won the championship and he played him. Obviously, he's one of the best players in the NBA, but
Won the Finals MVP, yeah.
Right, exactly. He's
Twice.
yeah, that goes without question. But the insecurity is just interesting, and I do think that certain people are just not cut out for I guess like the intense scrutiny of what comes with playing I guess in certain markets where you always see it with like the Yankees back in the day, like they'd bring in these pitchers who just melt under pressure. And I'm not saying Durant would if he was healthy he would melt under the Garden spotlights, but I don't know. It's just very interesting but even the whole thing, like I just wanted to chill and just kind of like take it easy. Like, you're a professional athlete. You're amongst, you're arguably the best player in the NBA. So like, the whole idea of like, I just want to coast under the radar and just chill.
Right. That's not a good sign for Nets fans. I gotta be honest. Sorry, Mike, but that's probably not a good sign for Nets fans that he admits that he didn't want the pressure. It's not really he admits he didn't want the pressure. He just didn't want to deal with all the nonsense that goes around with the Knicks. And let's be honest, there's a lot of nonsense between the fans and the media and the scrutiny from the national media, not even local. Like the Knicks can't do anything. Like right now, for example, you're in the NBA playoffs. It was the NFL opening night. And all of a sudden you see all news and tweets all about the Knicks. I can't believe they didn't trade for Kyle Lowry 7, 8, 9 years ago. Like, are you kidding? Like, what are we talking about right now? Why are we bringing this up? Why is this on the top, on everybody's radar right now? And it's not everybody. I know it's what we see and who we follow and the things that our people we follow retweet and stuff on Twitter and our friends in real life, but I just can't fathom why the Knicks are talked about in this Kyle Lowry trade when, he left. He was traded from Memphis. He was traded from the Rockets. And then he ends up in Toronto and he turns his career around. He changed his diet. He was a fat, like lazy point guard with the Grizzlies. Like he was good and people saw the talent, but he wasn't taking care of his body. It's well documented. People can look it up. He was eating a lot of fast food. And once he took care of himself and he realized, wow, this is my third team, I need to take care of myself, is when he really took off. And I know that's when the Knicks were looking to trade for him, but it wasn't like the Knicks were looking to trade for Kyle Lowry and who he is now, they were like, this guy is like a few years removed from being a fat shit. Like, why are we going to give up Shumpert and 2 unprotected draft picks when Shumpert was a legit prospect back then for Kyle Lowry? I don't know if this is the right move. You know, and obviously in hindsight, they probably should have done it. But then it's like, well, one of those picks that they gave up actually ended up being Porzingis, who in turn everybody criticized the Knicks for trading. And it's just like there's no logic, and everything just goes in and out in one ear at the other. It's just they're all hypocritical. It just drives me crazy.
No, it's no what it started into. It's like, remember the game? It was called like 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, where if you throw out any actor, actress, you can always find a way to get it back to Kevin Bacon. It's like from watching just following the NBA Twitter world over the last few months with once the bubble resurfaced, like any person, like I remember like Jamal Murray had a big game, and then it was someone pinned it back to, okay, it was like the draft pick that was involved in the Carmelo trade eventually turned into to Jamal Murray. And it's just out of control. I mean, if you're going to play that game, then, you know, you see it all the time with, you know, but with all
like, why
stuff.
aren't you doing that with the Kings? Why aren't you doing that with, you know, the Pelicans?
Because you know what it is? The Knicks, obviously, I mean, as you know, the Knicks for clicks thing, as everyone made fun of you are right. They are. You notice they do get the everyone's attention. You know what it is? They've kind of replaced in a way the Cleveland Browns, where, you know, the Cleveland Browns were always like the laughing stock where everyone likes to poke fun at them.
Right.
And now, like, I mean, I want to say the Browns are actually turned around, but you know. They are turned around, but it's not like they're like a 2-14 perennial. Like, now they're like just 7-9, 6-10, like bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're still dysfunctional.
They get a good coach in there, they can be good. Yeah.
They still have their dysfunction, but think about the Cleveland Browns, like, you know, the last 15, 20 years, like how, like, you know, the running joke of how many different quarterbacks they had since they resurfaced, and they're. So I feel like the Knicks have just replaced that like doormat where everyone can just poke fun. It doesn't matter, you know. And with getting back to what you were saying with Lowry. If my memory serves me right, when that trade rumor was going on, that was like the first good year he had in Toronto, and that was the year when Toronto, what do you call it? Like, had that resurgent year. I think that was the year the Nets played them in the first round of the playoffs, and the Nets beat them. They were like the 3 seed that year.
It might have been. You know, I don't know. We need
I remember it was like Masai was like, you know, was like on the fence, like, do I like continue like blow up this roster, or, you know, they kind of like just went with the path that they had with DeRozan and Lowry. But I think he was contemplating, like, you know, like he had just traded away like Rudy Gay, and then he was but then I think they were going to turn around and trade away Lowry, but obviously they didn't. It was actually a smart move because they just built a stable organization. So but it's ridiculous. I agree. Like, but you know what's funny? Like, Jeffrey Balone, you know, that's the guy who created Knicks Film School. He had a tweet. Yeah, he had a tweet early on in the bubble that said something like, you know, it was like clockwork. It was like 5 hours ago, everyone's mentioning Michael Porter Jr. The Knicks not drafting him. Then it was not trade for Kyle Lowry. Then the Knicks were the storyline for every game that was going on. It was like Porzingis, Lowry, Michael Porter, Jamal Murray. It was like ridiculous. So
right. And then Stephen A. Smith gets on TV and lies through his teeth about, hey, draft night, I was like, when they took he's like, Frank Ntilikina, I can't believe they took him. I was screaming to get Donovan Mitchell. I'm like, no, you weren't. There's video, dude. You wanted Dennis Smith Jr., you wanted Malik Monk. You never even mentioned Donovan Mitchell. He probably didn't even know who he was. And you're gonna get on TV and just lie that you were screaming for Donovan Mitchell the day of the draft. Just don't lie. Just be like, I didn't want Ntilikina, you know, but I wanted Dennis Smith Jr., but I knew that there was a better, you know, but like, just don't lie. Like, these guys on TV, they have no credibility. I'm sure Stephen A. Smith is a nice man and he's very entertaining. And I do, you know, guilty pleasure. Sometimes I do watch First Take because there's nothing on, especially working from home. It's just like, I can't like understand why these guys, they don't care. Like, you know what I mean? And then that other, I don't remember who the guy was, but he's somebody who works at CBS. He wrote that tweet about Lowry. Like, I forgot
his name. I attacked him, but
I think everybody, like all of Knicks Twitter, just, you know, like once Knicks Twitter is united, it's like kind of unstoppable. Like,
well, he said, like, I think like Toronto should build a statue for James Dolan. It was after Lowry had that big game. Yeah.
And and he somehow started off with Kyle Lowry being traded and Dolan nixed the deal for Shumpert. He made it like it was just Shumpert for Lowry. If it was, and I'm sure the Knicks would have done it, but it was like, no, we want Lowry and 2 picks, or at least 1 pick, one to protect. It's like, no. And then, you know, we're trying to get picks. We're like, they're coming out of the Melo trade and they're trying to like stack, but they can't trade picks now. You know, then we're still kind of good too, and, you know, but like they're like, we can't trade any more picks in the future. And then, you know, at the end of the tweet, he says something about like, but then he trades Bargnani for, whoever. And then those picks that they got for Bargnani ended up being for the Kawhi trade. And so Dolan basically won the Raptors a championship. It's like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like, right. What are we talking about right now?
Like I said, man, it's just at this point, it's just
drool on myself.
It's just finding a way to just tie it back to the Knicks. It's just, like I said, if you look back, if you remember years ago, it was all about the Cleveland Browns. So, and I'm away from Cleveland, so I see firsthand the what do you call it? The patheticness of Cleveland sports.
Yeah.
If you take, when you take LeBron out of the
that LeBron 30 for 30 was great on the Cleveland.
Believeland, whatever it's called.
Yeah, Believeland. Yeah.
I'm looking back right now at the Basketball Reference. So 2013, 2014, I think that was the year the rumor started with Lowry. Okay, so that was his second year in Toronto. He averaged he averaged 17.9 points and 7.5 assists. So he averaged 8, but that was the year. But prior to that, his first year in Toronto, 11.6 points a game, 6.5 assists. The year before that, his last year in Houston, this is when he was kind of like bouncing around between Houston and Memphis, but like 14 points, 13 points. So he was really not an established star. And since that breakout year in 2013, when the Raptors were the 3 seed, 18 points a game, 21, 22. So, to pay a huge haul that they would have had to have given up to get him. And he was, that was like and he was 27 years old. So you could say, I don't know what his contract status was. If it was just like, you got to be wary. Is he playing for a contract? And what's going to happen once he gets that contract? Is he going to like let himself go again? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
So I can see that the red flags back then. I mean, obviously he's an amazing competitor. I remember I was a Nets fan back in the day, and I was a huge Nets fan back then. And when people just say like DeRozan or Lowry, like, I was always afraid of Kyle Lowry more so than DeRozan. I thought Kyle Lowry ate Darren Williams' lunch, like, in all those games. He was always better than him, and that's when Darren Williams obviously was like still, amongst the, I thought he was gonna be the savior of the Nets organization. But Lowry was a great player.
Right.
But I see.
No, he was.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm screwing this Zoom stuff up, by the way. I'm trying to, if people are watching the YouTube video right now, you'll see that the screen's moving around a little. I'm not sure which one to click. So my own gallery view, then it should record with both on side by side, right?
If you're on gallery
now speaker view. It's weird because when you do speaker view, you have both pictures next to each other. But then when I hit gallery view, it's like I'm on top and you're on the bottom.
Right now I'm in gallery view and I see the Dolan Trump ahead of you. And that's what it looks like for me.
I think the gallery view is the way to go. I'm not sure. Maybe we should text Mike. Find out. But I'm just kidding. We'll keep it on gallery. We'll see how it goes. But this is what happens when you don't have your tech support with you on the co-host. Mike is the audio guy. He works at CBS Sports Radio. He takes care of all this stuff. I'm not the audio guy. I mean, I have some history of audio guy, going to school for it sometimes back in the day, but that was also now 12, 15 years ago before Zoom even existed. So please bear with me, everybody, as you're listening to this. But if you're listening to the podcast, you're probably like, what the hell are you guys even talking about? If you're listening on Apple, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and etc. So, just bear with us a little bit, So you like how it transitioned into that little promotion into my
promotion.
That was very, very well done. I think I should pat myself on the back for that one, like Barry Horowitz. But anyway, so another thing to connect to the Knicks was when the Bucks lost and Giannis was out and he wasn't playing well, and now all of a sudden it becomes, well, Giannis is going to be going to the Knicks, and the Knicks are going to start doing this and that. And it's just like, oh, come on, dude! Like, really? Like, why are we doing this?
But they did the same. They did the same thing though once the Jazz lost with Donovan Mitchell.
Right.
Anytime a team loses, it's like, it's like the free agent to be. I don't know. What do you think? Giannis is going to stay in Milwaukee or what? Is this going to be like the Cavs, the Cavs back in the day? Like, Giannis is kind of like the LeBron. He's took them as far as he can go with them. And he's got to leave in order to win? What do you think?
He's built a little different because when he came into the league, remember we hit that, like when he was first coming on, he hit that step back jumper to beat the Knicks at the Garden, and everybody went nuts and like, oh my God, I can't believe it. He did this. This kid's growing up. He was a skinny nothing. Now he's growing up into the star. And they asked him after the game, how do you feel? How did that go? And he was just like, to do this at the Garden, he's like, I wish I could have done it at home in front of my fans. He doesn't care.
Right.
So
there was also a story like years ago. I think it was when he was a rookie. He was like walking in the snow or something like that to the practice facility, and like someone, like some random person, like picked him up and like drove him to. And it just showed like how clueless he was. Like
Didn't he like say he had to Google Jason Kidd's stats to know who he was? He had no idea.
Right. So I mean, but it'll be interesting. But I don't know. The Knicks rumors, I don't know. It's ridiculous. But it's just funny though how when they were doing the coaching search and you had like, you know, the whole thing with
Sorry, I'm sending Mike the picture of the screen to see if I'm doing this right, so I don't screw up the whole video. You know, we'll keep this in the pod.
But with the coaching search, it's like, you know, had the Knicks had gotten a guy like Steve Nash or Jason Kidd, like that would have just been the instant storyline of they're just hiring this guy to try to connect it to future free agents, and then, you know, but then you know, when the Nets time hire Steve Nash, it's
great hire, yeah. Great. Or Michael Beasley. Remember when they signed Michael Beasley and Jamal Crawford? This is going to make them a sneaky team. Anybody could drop 40. And I'm like, shut up, man. These guys are out of the league for a year for a reason. You know, then it was like the Trey Burke stuff. They're like, the Knicks traded Trey Burke. I can't believe it. Like, dude, they traded Trey Burke, but Trey Burke, the Mavericks dropped Trey Burke too. And then he was on the Sixers, and then he got dropped, and then he was out of the league. And then the Mavericks only picked him back up because they knew him. And Willie Cauley-Stein didn't want to go to the bubble. You know, so it's absurd. So, you know, I don't know, man. I don't know what's happening. So whatever. I can't. You can't keep up with all the different hates, and you know, I don't know what's happening, and I don't know what's happening with my video, and I'm sorry if I'm screwing this up because I keep hitting speaker or gallery. I don't know which one it is. I suck at Zoom, so bear with me, everybody.
I don't know. On my screen it says recording, so I think you're doing it fine.
Yeah, at least as long as we're getting the audio going. You might see my face and then your face, or your face and then my face. You know, your Dolan Trump face. It's a very good looking photo, by the way. And that's at the Michael K studio, right? When he did the free agent signings. Correct. Or whatever.
Yeah. So I had to crop the photo because on the table is the binder. So all the player stats.
That's awesome. Yeah, you know, it's like going back to Durant. It's kind of like, you know, asking Durant questions about the Knicks now or why is free agency. It's just, I'm over it, man. It's just like we're talking about Durant free agency. We're talking about the Lowry trade. We're talking about, you know, well, let's bring up Dolan and Oakley again for you. You know what I mean? It's just like the greatest hits, or Spike Lee, you know. But like with Durant, it's like if you're asking him a question about the Knicks right now, he signed to the Nets. You got to ask him this question in like 10 years. You know, because when he will actually give you an honest answer, because right now he's not going to be like, actually, I wanted the Knicks, but you know, I got hurt, and the Knicks didn't want Kyrie solo for a year because he's crazy. But so let's go to Brooklyn because that's what you really want to do right now, Kyrie. I'll back you up, and I'll take the bullet for you because that's his boy. You know, so like that's the only logical scenario why all of a sudden, after all the reports, all of this, all of that, Durant, Knicks, Durant, Knicks, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it's the Nets. You know what I mean? And I know the Nets were in the game, quote unquote, in the game the whole time, but at the same time, it's like, come on, dude. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Like something changed, and logic will tell you something changed. And I hate talking about this again because we've been through this so many times, but it's the only logical scenario. But they don't want to give that, you know, the national media, they don't want to give the credit, like, and give the logical scenario. Besides Rick Bucher, he's the one who got on TV and he explained the scenario. The Knicks were like, hey, you know, the Knicks wanted Kawhi with Durant, and that's why they would deal with Kawhi for a year. You know, obviously, you're wishful thinking. They would deal with Kawhi for a year while Durant gets healthy, but they don't want to deal with Kyrie healthy by himself for a year because of what happened with the Celtics. And that was like true. I still wanted Kyrie. I didn't realize that it was actually Kyrie's fault in Boston. Because look at this, they're in the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, you know what I mean? With Kemba. I mean, Kemba's great, but it's not because of Kemba. It's because of Tatum. It's because of Jaylen Brown. It's because of Marcus Smart. You know, it's just it's incredible how most teams get better when Kyrie leaves. But I mean, that's just another story. It sounds a little like Stephon Marbury-ish. And Kyrie hasn't been healthy for years. But if I start trashing Kyrie, I'll look like a hypocrite because I really did still want him with the Knicks because I just, you know, he was like one of my favorite players with the Cavs. And, you know, but so I took that L. But I did not take the L on Durant because once he got hurt, I was like, I'm done, you know. So I don't know. What do you think about that?
Let me ask you this. Who do you want then? I know I always hear you say, you want as many draft picks as possible, take as many swings as you can to try to get the next player X or whatever. But like, so with this current Knicks, like, what's your dream scenario? In my opinion, I would love if they can move Julius Randle somehow. From what I saw, that guy, I do not want. It's the most empty stats. I feel like he's not a winning player. Right? Yeah, you see like that, whatever, 19-9 or whatever, but the turnovers, he's like a black hole on offense. I would love for them to trade him, whatever it is, and then I would love to bring back Marcus Morris. That's what I want. Guy's got to be our starting power forward next year alongside Mitchell Robinson. That guy is, when they talk about when you talk about identity and culture, I want Marcus Morris. And in a way, I want the Knicks. I mean, I could be totally off base with this, but I almost want everyone right now is going the same way. Let's get smaller. I mean, the NBA, just the same. Everyone's trying to build their team the exact same way. It's almost like zag when everyone else, like, everyone's thinking you should zag. And so I don't know if the Knicks can kind of be more, and that's what I think, like maybe with Thibodeau, it's, just get like more of like a tough-minded, defensive,
gritty
like,
New York kind of coach.
right.
Yeah.
But also just like, I don't know, maybe play a little bit like a different style of basketball than just, like let's hoist up 63 pointers a game and,
Right. And that works in the regular season. If you have shooters that you can beat like the crappy teams, you can beat the Hawks, you can beat the, those kinds of teams, but you can't beat in the playoffs. The game slows down. You need to play defense. You need to hit the mid-range shot. You need to you gotta like hustle. You can't just be like, all right, let's have a bunch of short guys like the Rockets. I'm sure that's what you're implying. Like the Rockets having PJ Tucker at center or whoever they're starting at center now. It's just absurd. You're wasting James Harden. You're wasting Russell Westbrook. Like, what are you doing? Like, stop trying to recreate the wheel. Easy for me to say, Maury. Just go get yourself a center. Go, it doesn't need to be what's his name that they traded to the Hawks. I forgot his name. Capella. It doesn't need to be a guy like Capella who's overpaid. You need to get a guy that can just spread the floor, hit a jumper, grab you 9, 8, 9, 10 boards, block a shot, like, D up somebody, because people aren't going to create the matchup to you when you were small. They'll be like, all right, you know what? Let's throw everybody in there. Let's put, how are you, like, you're in the Western Conference. The Lakers are there. They have Anthony Davis. That you're going to play the Nuggets. They have the Joker. Like, you know what I mean? You need, Rudy Gobert. Like, you need a big guy in the middle, and you need at least one. Like, you can't go through it with Tyson Chandler at the end of your bench. Like, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm Harden, I'm like, dude, what are we doing here? Like, I'm killing myself. I never miss a game. Running up and down the court. Like, you have this crappy coach, like D'Antoni's gets exposed in the playoffs again, and everybody, the roster's not balanced. It's just like, what's going on here? You know what I'm saying? Like, if I was him, I'm like, what's happening? I'm not saying he's going to demand a trade. I mean, you never know. But I don't know. I just feel like I would be frustrated. I'm frustrated for him right now, and I don't even like the Rockets.
So what would you want to do though with the Knicks though? With
this offseason?
Yeah, with reconstructing them. Like, who do you want like as a moving forward? Like, what they have on their team right now?
For me,
no, like ridiculous. But like, so they could go out and sign Donovan Mitchell, or like, I'm saying like,
trade for Giannis.
What they have like currently on their team. Like, who do you think is like
realistically? I think there's 4 free agent targets. We've gone over this. I'm sure you heard on a previous.
Joe Harris.
Joe Harris.
Joe Harris is great. Yeah.
Joe Harris, Danilo Gallinari, Davis Bertans, and Marcus Morris are the 4 big men shooters, quote, big men or taller guys shooters that they need. They need a shooter. They need somebody who can come in and space the floor. Like, the Knicks need that desperately. RJ Barrett will develop the jumper eventually. I doubt he'll be a lethal shooter, but he'll develop something better. And he's 20 years old. But, so they need somebody like that. I would love Marcus Morris, but first I want Joe Harris. I want to I'm not going to max him out, obviously. I'm not going to go close to that. But I'm going to make him an offer that's going to be higher than what the Nets are going to offer him and dare him to leave. You know what I mean? I'm going to do that. I don't know what the number is. I don't want to like throw a number out there and everybody go, you're crazy. I just know whatever the Nets are offering, offer more and see what happens. If you don't get him, I'll be open to bringing Gallinari home, but he scares me because he's always injured.
Right, he's always injured. Yeah.
Then after those two, if Gallinari is too much, he might cost a little too much. I would bring Marcus Morris back for sure because even if he doesn't start, even if he's not like playing 30 minutes a night, you need him. You need a guy like that who's like the backbone of the team. He's gonna watch now Ntilikina's back. He's gonna watch RJ Barrett's back. He's gonna Like, I like Julius Randle a lot. I think he's best suited as a 6-man where he's not taking the ball from RJ Barrett. He's not taking the ball from, other players that need to space the floor. But, like, I think he was put in the wrong situation. So I would keep him unless you can find a deal that you really need to do. And, like, that's a little tease for later on our poll question for this week. But I would keep Julius Randle. I'd keep the guys. I would just keep swinging in the draft. There's no realistic trade that's going to come up unless James Harden, then you do like, all right,
have you completely written off Knox or Dennis Smith Jr.? Would you have any hope? I actually think Dennis Smith Jr., I think both of them, I'm not saying they're going to turn into like great players this year, but I almost think they're going to have, for whatever reason, I don't know, it could be completely irrational, wishful thinking, but I think this coaching staff is going to get them turned around to some degree. Like, I think that you're going to see progress with both of them. I mean, I don't know. That's just my –
Yeah. Well, what do you see in Knox that you think that he can turn it around? Because I don't really see it. I think he has the talent. I just think there's something going on with the mental. And when it comes to the mental, that's when you can, like, really –
But how much can you pin on this the coach? I mean, think about it. Yeah. He's first of all, he's 20 years old, or he just turned 21 years. Sorry, he just turned 21. I have a picture with him. He and I are sitting in the Square office celebrating his 21st birthday. But think about it. He's 21 years old. He's been in the NBA for 2 years. He's had some of the worst coaching, you could say. Right. You have all these people recently. It was Cle Anthony Early recently, bashing like the Knicks player development. So now you bring in like a real.
Don't get me started on him.
You bring in a real front office, a real coaching staff that's gonna, get this guy hopefully straightened out. So that's my hope. I think he's got like the physical, the frame, and
right.
I think like 100%. That's promising. I think he's got age on his side. I think he's got the physical attributes on his side. Mm-hmm. So that's where I think that. That's what I'm hoping. I just think maybe it's just coaching, it's player development. I think that will help him out. And I think it's also maybe not just thrusting him into a role, be like, okay, we're going to throw you out there for 25, 30 minutes. Because like anything else, it's like whether, like a cornerback in the NFL, you can be a first or second round pick in the NFL. And, if your confidence is shot because you're put in a position to be, position to fail, it's going to destroy your career, Right. So I just think like almost like bring him along slowly. I mean, like I said, you still have time on your side of that. He's only 21. Mm-hmm. He's had, it's not like where it's like, oh my God, we gotta get this guy like figured out, or because then he becomes a restricted free agent. It's like, then we're gonna have to, everyone's gonna be bidding on him. So that's where I think just to kind of bring him along slowly. So
right, there's no perfect science. Sure you don't.
Yeah. I don't know, but that's and Dennis Smith Jr. I think also how does Dennis Smith Jr. go from what he was in Dallas, where let me bring up his
when LeBron was saying, "Wow, the Knicks were so stupid for passing on him," and.
Right. I mean, like his first year in Dallas, like, stats are just tell one story, but 15-5. The next year he's basically,
He was good. No, but I think it was more volume for him. And then he would have the highlight dunks, and then it was like the Knicks connection, and it's like, oh my God, the Knicks are just so dumb. And then it spirals out of control. The perception becomes the reality, like with Porzingis, our favorite player. Perception becomes the reality, like Porzingis. It looks at like he looks the part, and he can hit a jump shot, and it's just like, all right, but he's he got hurt, and he doesn't have the same explosiveness. He's not the same guy. He can't stay healthy. He probably tore another ligament in his other knee. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like let's come down here.
Yeah, but Dennis Smith Jr., for instance, like he's looking like he's going to be like a 15 point a game scorer, and then all of a sudden like he plummets last year to just 5 points and 3 assists a game.
Mental with him too, I think.
Right. So it's like I just think it was like a worse situation last year where you had Fizdale disaster, all and like I said, now it's like the organization I think has been cleaned up. I mean, yes, Dolan's still there, but you have just Mills is gone, and just they don't have Fizdale. They brought in like a real coaching staff. So I think that's what I think the hope is. Now, how old is Dennis Smith Jr.? He's probably also very young.
He's very young. Yeah. No, and him, him and Ntilikina came in the same year. So, and I think
Dennis Smith Jr. 22 years old.
Right.
Yeah. And everyone's so quick to be like, it's over. Like, he's been in the league for 2 years.
Not over.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think he's going to be a star. Like, I don't think Knox is going to be a star. I think you can tell when somebody's going to be a star, unless you like all of a sudden Brandon Ingram. I mean, he's the example you give. Like, it took him time, and now look at him, he's a star. But at the same time, you still saw it. Like, you still saw like Magic Johnson when he took over. Everybody made fun of him. Like, we were not trading Brandon Ingram for anything. And he was right. Like, look, he's like the accidental genius. You know what I'm saying? And, obviously, everything else he did didn't really work out. But, but in general, like, I think Knox, I put it this way, Knox and Ntilikina, I like Ntilikina more. I would keep him. If you had to put somebody in a trade to make a trade for somebody, I would put Knox in it because I'm not as sold on him. Knox, I feel like his ceiling is not as high as it should be because of his mental makeup. I know he's a kid and he can't even drink. Maybe he can drink now, but I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like his ceiling is more like just a starter to fringe starter to me, but his floor is like Europe or Israel. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
While Ntilikina, his ceiling is not as high, like the perennial starter, defensive stopper. But his floor is like Bruce Bowen. You know what I'm saying? Like he'll bounce around the league, like Posey, like guys like that from back in the day.
Andre Roberson. Like
right.
That.
Well, better.
Yeah.
I think he might be better than that. But like guys like that. But like that's exactly what it is.
There's
a role. Right. There's a role for him in the NBA on a winning team somewhere. Or not even on just there's a role for him in the NBA for the next 10, 12 years. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I would keep Ntilikina because every Knicks fans have this thing like, all right, this guy sucks. Like, let's trade him. You know what I mean? He's not a star. Let's trade him. Like, just keep him. Like, look at all their draft picks from the last, whatever, 20 years. Channing Frye helped out on a championship team, and he developed a good jumper. He was good in Phoenix. Shumpert became good. Excuse me. David Lee, they should have never gotten rid of. Nate Robinson had those wins with the Bulls and Thibodeau. You know what I mean? Like these guys, like they develop and they might not be stars, but they can be quality players. Let's just keep everybody, and eventually they can become our guys and be on our bench. And then we have like like we have the structure and the teams are together and the fans can get around these guys, and it's not just some, we get rid of Ntilikina. Oh my God, we got to get somebody who can guard the wing. Like it's just all right. Well, we had him.
Would you make a deal for Chris Paul if you had that up?
Hell no. I know he's been still playing great and this and that, but I would no chance. Because he unless I'm getting like a bunch of draft picks back, and I don't have to give up. I'm not giving him Ntilikina or Robinson or obviously RJ Barrett for him at all. You know what I'm saying? So maybe you want to give up Julius Randle in a draft pick. I mean, sure, not a draft pick. You want to give up Julius Randle, and and some random pieces, and take a pick or two back. Okay, sure, we'll think about it. But I'd rather just. In this draft, I don't care what they take it in with the 8th pick. Just take the best player available. If it's a point guard, if it's a tie between a point guard and a forward, take the point guard. But I need a live rookie body in this draft. I don't care if it's the first pick or that late first round pick, or if it's a second round pick. I need one of these picks to be a point guard, and I need to take a swing there. And I need, even if he becomes like Augustin from, you know what I mean? Like I need somebody, like I just need a body here. You know what I'm saying? Like and see what happens. We just have, this is not the year. I know it sucks. You have to punt on another season. You're not really. It's a development season. It's not like the Jets, which we'll get to our NFL picks soon. It's like kind of. They're in the right spot. Just chill. This is the year you got to chill. You just just take another kid. Just see what you can do. Get your veterans like your Marcus Morris and like guys but give them more than 1 year deal. I mean, I would even bring back Portis. I like Portis a lot. I think he got a bad rep because, fans like to take, one video of him like dribbling off his knee or doing the wrong thing or chucking up a stupid shot. Be like, look, he sucks. Like just, just because these guys aren't superstars, they're not going to have every, how it is on Twitter or in social media in general. Like people imply Giannis sucks now.
What would a hypothetical, if they were to take on Chris Paul? Because Oklahoma City, I've heard they want to kind of get the rebuild going, even though they had a really good season.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
I was actually rooting for them in that first round against Houston to pull off the upset. That would have been very poetic if they traded for Westbrook. Right. To then lose to that team. But what I do like about the idea of Chris Paul is, yes, I know he's old, on the older part of his, he's the twilight of his career, but he's still very good. But I just think that he brings instant credibility, and I think he further gets the team on the right track. And I'll, just speak from my knowledge as a Nets fan, like the Nets back in the day, like I'm talking like when we're still in New Jersey,
right.
when
the real Nets. Yeah.
I'm a long-time New Jersey Nets fan. Before I switched over to the dark side. But anyways, the years prior to them getting Kidd, they had Kenyon Martin, they had Kerry Kittles, they had Keith Van Horn. These guys were all like, Kittles was the 7th pick, Martin was the 1st, Van Horn was the 2nd, and then they had Stephon Marbury as their point guard, and they were like a 26-win team. They were terrible. Every year the Nets were 26 wins, 30 wins. They were awful. And then they make that trade for Kidd, and just that first season there, he doubled their win total, but it just everyone it put everyone in their right spots in the sense where it just got them on the right track, and then that's where the organization kind of instantly got respect in the sense where and that's what I think the Knicks kind of need. So then I know you don't want to play the free agency game, but in order to like repair the reputation from I think he could be the guy where he kind of fixes that. And also, most importantly, you need a legit point guard to further the development of Robinson, Knox, Ntilikina, Dennis Smith. That's why I like the idea. I mean, depending on which guys are still there, if you trade for him, I think it's worth it. I think Van Vliet, I worry about him being the
overpaid the new Mike Conley. I'm calling him, because 0-time All-Star, but he's going to get like a max contract. Right. I don't know. That's it. This offseason, if you want to bring in a veteran point guard, they need to. I'd bring in like an Augustin. I would be bringing in Jeff Teague, somebody like that who's been around the block and he can help and he can run an offense if he needs to. You know what I'm saying? Because Ntilikina is not going to be a lead point guard. He's more off the ball. Like he can run the point for a little bit. I just don't. He's too slow. You know what I'm saying? Right. For the NBA. And Dennis Smith Jr., I don't trust him at all. And I think there's something to him and Ntilikina, like a little bit of off the court beef, but I think it's more Dennis Smith is kind of jealous of Ntilikina because he came out and he was like this prodigy. And then how can you draft Ntilikina over Dennis Smith Jr.? And it turns out Dennis Smith Jr. is kind of better. I mean, Ntilikina is kind of better than Dennis Smith Jr. It's kind of like Keyshawn and Corbett back in the day. Keyshawn's the number 1 pick. Corbett's like this off the, living on his dorm room couch in Hofstra, and he makes the team, and he's better than Keyshawn. Like, you know what I'm saying? So
right. What's the game back to Paul? What would be the hypothetical rumblings of like if they were to make a deal for him? You would have to trade who away? I mean, one of those Maverick picks, I guess.
I'm not trading any picks to get Chris Paul, man. Like the Thunder got to give me draft picks to take Chris Paul. To
Right,
be
exactly.
honest,
Okay.
yeah.
So
So
right, because his
I would give up
contract is
Knox and Randall and somebody like that. Then I would do that. I don't know what matches up. I don't have the trade machine in front of me, but hypothetically, I would do that Chris Paul thing for that, but I just don't want him to get in the way. My theory is I want to take a point guard in the draft somewhere. It doesn't have to be their first pick. Like I said, it could be the second one in the first round. I want a point guard in this draft, and I want them to have the time to play. So I don't want just I don't know, man. And then RJ Barrett seems to be more point forward ish. I know Chris Paul can play with anybody, but at the same time, he's getting old, and I know he's still putting up the numbers. But what is he, 38 years old? I mean, what is he at the fountain of youth? He's on steroids like Barry Bonds. Like, I mean, what is he? What are we doing here?
Chris Paul, 34 years old. This
Only
past
34? Why do I think he's older?
Only 34 years old. Here's the thing, though. Also,
yeah.
Think of just when they traded away Chris Paul. I mean, they traded away Westbrook and Paul George. Everyone was saying that Oklahoma City was going to be lottery team. This is a disaster. Chris Paul is going to probably force his way out of here. Miami's the perfect destination for them. Now they can flip Chris Paul to Miami. Look at the type of season Oklahoma City just had. They had a good season. I'm telling you. I think Chris Paul is. I don't know. I think
SGA took off also. I know Chris Paul played really well, but I think SGA and Schroeder played really well as well, and I think they somehow meshed with the 3-point guard system. So I mean, Chris Paul was incredible. Don't get me wrong, but I can't just be like, oh, it was all Chris Paul. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's just how I'm feeling there. I don't know.
Right. Okay,
I would do it, but it, but it had to be the right deal. That's how I'll put it.
Right. In the right deal, if it's advantageous for them, where they don't. But I think it just speeds up the rebuild process. I'm in favor of it.
Yeah. All right, so let's get on to so this is our first week that with the NFL is coming out. So we're going to do Mike and Alex here. We're going to do our Bad Weather Fans picks pool. We're going to do our weekly picks, and since our friend Dolan J Trump is here, he's going to give his picks as well. I have Mike's picks with me. So, Mr. Dolan Trump, why don't you go ahead and give us the picks, and why don't you give me the line, the Francesa line, for everybody out there who knows what we're talking about.
All right, week 1 in the NFL where they play. For pay. All right, so you want to go through each game, like Baltimore, like Cleveland? That's like the first thing you sent me. Like
yeah, I sent you. I'm in a picks pool, and I just kind of sent you their spread. So we're doing CBS sports spreads. Yeah, so let's do. So Kansas City is already done. Obviously everybody picked Kansas City, I'm sure.
So you got Baltimore. You got Baltimore giving up 8.5 to Cleveland. I took Cleveland plus the points.
Cleveland plus the points. Okay, yeah, I took Cleveland plus the points as well. I know Baltimore is at home, but with no home field advantage, it's going to be a weird year. So I think Cleveland might keep this close. This might be one of those picks that were like, what the hell were we thinking? But
all right, I look at it as like divisional games.
Right. First game of the year.
Divisional games are usually closer than other. I don't know. I just think
no preseason also, which is weird. So Mike also picks the Browns. So that's 3 of us with the Browns. Next one is
you want to say? All right, you got Chicago at Detroit. Detroit laying 3.5.
You got Chicago at Detroit. That was not my next one, but it's okay. We have maybe the screenshot got your screenshot got a little screwed up because I had Carolina and Vegas next, but
okay,
whatever. Chicago at Detroit. So Chicago getting 3.5.
I took Chicago.
You took Chicago. I took Chicago as well. Let's see what Mike's were. Mike had. Now I'm all out of sorts. Chicago at Detroit. Let's see. Where's his pick? I think he missed this pick, so he didn't pick Chicago or Detroit. So he passed. I don't see Chicago. All right. Well, that was a shitty section. So next pick. What do you have on your list?
The next one I got is Vikings hosting Green Bay. Vikings minus 2.5.
Vikings and Green Bay. Let me find that on my list. Okay, I have Green Bay. I took Green Bay.
Yeah, Green Bay. I took. As you guys know, I'm a Vikings fan. I took the Vikings minus the points. So.
Yeah. How's that doing? Is that
what, being a Vikings fan?
Yeah, that must be rough.
The Vikings are an interesting team. They have. I mean, they're a pretty stable organization since the Wilfs bought them. They never bottom out. Right. But the Vikings are every decade they always rise to the highest level of just getting to the Super Bowl, and then they just completely break your heart. I saw 98 with the 15-1 year, but the one that was worse was 2009 when Favre threw the interception in New Orleans. That's probably the most painful loss as a fan. It's still to this day.
Because it was Favre and you hated him, and then he
yeah, we'll say it was weird though when they first brought him. I did not want him, but once he came there, it was like week 3 when he had that Hail Mary at the end of the game to beat San Francisco, like right there. And then I'm like, now I understand like the how people just love Favre. He was magical that year. And you know what? In that New Orleans game, you can't fault him. That guy was playing on a broken ankle. That was Bounty Gate, so can't fault him.
I'm not a big fan of Favre being a Jets fan. I got to be honest with you. I think he was very selfish with the Jets. I think he got hurt at the end and he should have sat down. I know they probably thought that he was better than even a healthy Kellen Clemens, even an injured Favre. But I think Favre was just only concerned about his streak. And that's when they blew. They had like a 10-1 record and they blew it or something like that.
They were 8-3. I remember
8-3. Yeah,
I'm thinking he was playing with, I think, torn. I think he had like something torn in his shoulder, but he never wanted to be there. He always wanted to be in Minnesota. He had to go to the Jets in order to go to Minnesota.
Right.
That was the whole thing.
And that's the thing that pissed me off too. It's like you didn't want to be here. He shows up in preseason and everybody's like, well, and they get rid of Pennington. I know Pennington was kind of like had a resurgence that year. People didn't really see that coming with the Dolphins when he won the division.
Mm-hmm.
But Pennington was our guy and like you had Favre like, all right, if you're here, then you're a ringer, man, you better be doing this, and then he got hurt and then Mangini had the guarantee from the owner that he wouldn't lose his job after this year. And then at the end of the year, even with Favre, because it wasn't part of his plan. Like, what are you doing? We don't want this guy here. Like, what's going on? Woody Johnson was like, he was obsessed with getting a star quarterback and he got him and then fires Mangini. And then, I know we got Rex and we had a couple good years there and that was great and fun and everything, but that was on, it was a sign of things to come with Woody Johnson. I'll put it that way. All right, so I know we went off on a tangent, and I see where you went because the screenshots I sent you from the mobile CBS Sports.
Yeah, that's what
is a different list than on
there you go. Okay.
Safari version. Okay, so go for the next one. Let's see.
Next I got is I was gonna say the Oakland Raiders, Las Vegas at Carolina. It's very weird. Yeah, I got Carolina plus I'm surprised they're even getting points. Bridgewater is a winner, man. Trust me. But the guy is. I never wanted him to leave the Vikings, but they had a. That's a whole Kirk Cousins rant for another day. But
oh my God, I'm so thankful the Jets didn't get Kirk Cousins.
No, he's a loser.
Where's my tweets on that, man? You'll see. I was fighting.
Bridgewater is a winner. So I'm telling you, Carolina's gonna be pretty solid this year. He's a good player. So
all right,
just knows how to win. But
we got that. Yeah. So I have the Panthers as well, and actually Mike had the Lions. I see his thing, and I had and the Packers, and now he has the let's see. I don't know what all my screenshots got all screwed up. I'm botching this whole section. We'll do better next week, guys. I promise. So I have the Panthers plus 2.5 as well. So next, which one do you have up next? Which screenshot?
You want to read your screen then? So since you're the one who's all out of sorts.
It's all right. No, go ahead. You can.
All right, I got Eagles at Washington. So I got Eagles minus the 6.5. I think they're probably going to destroy them. So.
I have the same pick as well. Eagles as well. Plus minus 6.5. I'm sorry. Yeah, and Mike has the Eagles as well.
Next, we got Miami at New England. I have Miami plus the 6.5. They played well under Flores last year. Yeah, they were competitive.
Yeah, and the Pats always lose that token game in Miami every 2 years. But
this is in New England.
Oh, this is in New England. Yeah, that's right. I'm botching this, man. Jeez, Mike, I need you.
Yeah, Mike, we gotta get rid of this guy. No, but I don't know. I just like Miami, so I think.
No, and I got. Yeah, I hear you. I got New England because I just feel
it's
like
a lot of points, 6.5 points. So
it is a lot of points, but and Tom Brady's not there anymore. But I feel
like Brady will find a way. No, it's not even Brady anymore.
I just feel like Newton, the Belichick's the kind of guy where he can come out of nowhere and just redo an offense. Like, people forget that he was a defensive coordinator. You know what I mean? He was like a defensive mastermind. He comes to the Patriots and they have this explosive offensive team. Like, usually you can't do that when you're a defensive coordinator. You can't come and have a great offensive team. But, I just feel like he's got something cooked up with Cam Newton. He's never had a quarterback like this that can move. I know Cam's coming off injuries and he's been down, but I just feel like he has a lot to prove and a lot on the plate, especially with the kind of contract he got, and he wants to stay with the Pats. I just feel like the Patriots are going to come out and just win like 45-0 or something crazy. Like, I got to be honest.
No, I'm tired. But Miami played they were competitive last year, considering they were supposed to be the team that was going to win 0. Everyone's like they're going to try to go winless or 1 win. They were, they were very competitive under Flores. So he's probably like the one former New England coach that's probably going to make it somewhere else.
Yeah, that's true. True. Brooklyn dude, like he's got something there. He's got a little spunk.
The other, next we got Jets at Buffalo. I got the Jets plus the 6.5. I think Buffalo wins, but I'm not a fan of Josh Allen. I think, and to be honest with you, I think Stephon Diggs is going to hate playing in Buffalo. Really? Yeah. He forced his way out because he was not happy with how the Vikings were just how Kubiak and Zimmer want to be kind of like a run first team. He wants to, get like 200 targets a year. That's why he was not happy. Plus,
Like,
So I don't know. I
relax.
just think Josh Allen's very inaccurate. I think Buffalo wins the game. I just thought, but 6.5 points. And the Jets weren't that. I mean, they were 7-9 last year. So I think also everyone likes to make Adam Gase. I mean, you can definitely speak with more credibility about.
I hate him.
Him, right? But I mean, it wasn't like they were like 3-13 last year, considering all that went wrong with Darnold and everything else.
No, but he and then the backup got hurt. I forgot his name. The guy used to be on the Broncos. He got hurt too.
Trevor Siemian.
Siemian, yeah. And then I don't know. I just feel like Gase kind of gave up once his quarterbacks went down. Like, I know he had nobody at quarter. He had no shot, but then he didn't even try. And then he was like totally content with that because he had his excuse for the year. And then towards the end of the year, like when they had Darnold back and they had these games, like they lost to the Jaguars, they lost to the Bengals, they lost to some teams that they should have beat towards the end of the year when they could have actually been in the playoff picture. I know they would have had to run the table almost, but you shouldn't be losing to these teams. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, and he didn't use Le'Veon Bell right. He was running up the gut, the delayed draw up the gut, and everybody knows Le'Veon Bell. You get him in space, throw him a wing, pass to the side, throw him a pitch, do something like move, like pull the lineman, like do something. You know what I'm saying? Run a counter, get him some room. But don't get me started. But I picked the Jets as well because I'm just doing the homer
pick
first
or
week.
no?
Yeah, homer pick. First week, homer pick. I can't pick against them right now. I just feel like they're going to be okay. I feel so bad for Darnold. I mean, it's not an excuse, but he has nothing. Denzel Mims is hurt. He's out already for Sunday. You got Herndon who's coming back, but he's, sketchy. And then you have Griffin, the backup tight end. He did well last year, but he got hurt after they paid him, of course. Then you have you got Hogan, you got Perriman, who's a downgrade from Robbie Anderson. You got, who else I'm forgetting somebody else. I can't think of it right now, but it's just, these aren't guys that, I'll put it this way. These aren't guys you're drafting in fantasy. These aren't guys you're even picking up in fantasy. And then you're going to expect Darnold to just come in and be like, hey, there's a brand new offensive line and no preseason games. And you just, hey, figure it out. It's just like with this terrible coach. It's just, I feel so bad for Sam Darnold, man. It's just whatever. I'm tired of it, but I'm glad they took him over Saquon Barkley, as you can see. But either way. But anyway, so the next game we have the Falcons and Seahawks, right?
Yep, at Atlanta. I have Seattle giving 1.5 points on the road. Seattle, I'm taking Russell Wilson.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I picked the Falcons, getting 1.5 at home. I just figured getting points at home. Let me do it. I know there's no fans, so it's not the same, but I just feel the Falcons are going to take that one. But it's going to be a close game, definitely. So let's see. Next one. Which screenshot you have next?
Next, I have Colts at Jacksonville. Colts are giving 7.5. I took Jacksonville, the home dogs, getting 7.5. I think this is one of the. I think Phillip Rivers is just so washed up at this point, but I just think it's. I don't know. I'm not saying Jacksonville is not going to be like a 5-win team. I just think it's one of those games where is Gardner Minshew, is he starting for them this year?
I believe so.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think maybe it's one of those games where they just, I don't know, steal a wacky week one win. So, I mean, the Colts were not that good last year, 5-11. So, I mean, does Phil Rivers really move the needle? I mean, how old is Phil Rivers at this point? 30,
100 years old.
He just throws he just chucks it up there. So,
and still got that weird release.
Yeah, and he's very turnover prone. That's why. Yeah. Granted, I know Jacksonville just traded what's the guy's name?
Yannick something, yeah.
Ngakoue, yeah. So they obviously, their whole defense has been completely stripped down.
They have nothing. Yeah, they're nothing team this year.
But I don't know. I just 7.5 points at home. I just don't think Indianapolis covers. So
you're going with Minshew the 2, huh? Minshew the second. Which is always funny to me. Not Junior, the second. But I almost picked Jacksonville, but I'm going with the Colts. I just feel like the Jaguars are toast. I just feel like they're going to be a 1-15 team, 2-14 team. I could be wrong, but you never know. Mike also picked the Jaguars as well, plus 7.5. He also picked the Jets plus 6.5. So we can get those picks in there. Next we got I almost said
San Diego, but the Chargers at the Bengals. This game I have no feel. I just took the Chargers minus 3.5.
Yeah,
is Tyrod Taylor starting for them, or is it Herbert?
I don't even know, to be honest. I haven't heard a thing about that. Obviously Chargers news that doesn't really come across my radar very often, and with no preseason, I honestly I don't even know. To be honest, I should know that, but I don't. But I picked the Bengals anyway because I feel like Burrow with AJ Green. I feel like AJ Green is going to have a breakout year this year. I feel like he's coming back. Last year he kind of got David Robinson, to go for Tim Duncan. He was probably healthy towards the end of the year. They're like, dude, just chill. We'll pay you. You're not really like you could play, but you know what? Just get right. Then we can get the best quarterback in the draft and. you'll have a great next 5 years. So I feel like he's about to take off. People forgot about AJ Green. They're going to be sleeping on him. You'll see. So I got the Bengals. Mike has the Bengals as well, plus 3.5. So next we have the Cardinals at the 49ers.
Originally, I did like Arizona getting the points. They were getting, 7.5? But I think the more I thought about it, I think Arizona is like that trendy team that everyone's like, this is going to be the pop-up team this year. That's, they were, what was the record last year? They 5-10, they were 5-10-1. That's right. They tied Detroit in like week 2 or week 3.
Yeah.
And obviously everyone's high on Kyler Murray, and they just got
Hopkins. Yeah.
Hopkins, right, from the Texans. But, I mean, the 49ers they're just nasty. I mean, I just saw how they played throughout that playoff. So, I don't know. It's in San Francisco.
Yeah.
I think San Francisco wins that game and covers. So
yeah, I do agree. Well,
yeah. But you picked Arizona. Yeah.
I picked the Cardinals just because I know everybody in my picks pool is going to pick the Niners, but I do think the Niners are probably going to cover. But I'm trying to win this week to make some money, so I picked the Cardinals. Right. But I don't know.
You know what I'm saying, though? But everyone's like, when everyone, in my opinion, it's like when everyone's zigging one way, just zag the other way. I think Arizona's like, every year there's a couple of teams where everyone's just all in on, and or everyone's fully against, and they actually surprise, or everyone's all in on and they disappoint. So And Arizona's in a very tough division. I mean, think about it. Seattle's legit, and another team is the Rams. Everyone's is counting out the Rams. So. Right.
They might have a bounce back. Yeah, I mean,
they were 8-8 last year. 8-8 last year, and that's considered a terrible year. So
yeah, and the thing is that you have people put
Sean
McVay in the Hall of Fame
9-7,
too quick.
9-7, my bad.
9-7. Okay, well,
yeah, they weren't even 8-8.
A little over 500, so that's good. But just people put McVay in the Hall of Fame a little too quick. So I think now people are like, all right, well, let's do something. Everyone, Goff,
and everyone's so high right now on what do you call it, Kingsbury.
Right.
Kingsbury,
Yeah. That's a good comparison. Definitely.
Right. So everyone's quick to anoint him as being like the next genius coach.
Yeah.
Next, we got Tampa Bay at New Orleans. New Orleans is minus 3.5. I took Tampa Bay only not because I'm so high on the Brady. It's just that I think it's every year. Have you ever noticed the Saints always have like that week 1 clunker,
right?
Or they just play whether it's a close game.
Fitzpatrick came in that 1 week, 1 year, came in with
right. They always have a stinker. I feel like every year in like early in the season. So I think that kind of So I think that's why I took Tampa Bay.
Yeah, me too.
Tampa Bay's going to be scary.
They're going to be great. They're either going to be incredible or they're going to suck.
Right. It all depends on Brady. If Brady just completely falls off the cliff. But at the end of the day, it's still Bruce Arians where they're so well coached. So.
It's
I don't know how much Gronk has left.
We'll see. I mean, I don't know about Gronk. I don't trust.
And they brought in Fournette, right?
Yeah, they got Fournette also. And that was funny what he said. Fournette was like, it's the first time I'm actually playing with a quarterback that's good. Something like that. It was pretty funny. Right. He's right. But I don't know. I just feel like the Bucs are loaded, man, with Godwin and Evans and Gronk is I don't really trust Gronk, but they have Howard.
And on the other hand, Breeze, if you remember that playoff game last year against the Vikings, Breeze looked old in that game. They rattled him. So one of these quarterbacks this year is going to fall off the cliff. Whether it's Breeze or Brady or both of them.
Or Rivers. So,
yeah. Well, Rivers I think is already done.
He's already fallen.
He's already shot. Probably afraid to get hit at this point. That's why he just chucks it up and turns
Yeah. That's true.
Next we got Dallas at the Rams. Rams are getting 2.5 points. I took the Rams getting the points.
Well, that's surprising. I picked the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys are primed to have a good year. They finally, out from under the Jason Garrett clapping bubble. I think that they're going to really turn it on this year. I know a lot of people don't like the Cowboys, but they're kind of loaded too. I mean, the Rams are have a stacked team as well, but I just feel like the Cowboys are going to have one of those years where they go 13-3 and lose in the second round of the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? Probably. I just feel like what's going to with McCarthy, the coach.
Show the owner's box with Jerry Jones and Chris Christie, right?
Chris Christie with his shirt too tight, tucked in. Yes, I understand. Okay, next we have Steelers at Giants. We have.
I took Pittsburgh minus 4. I took Pittsburgh minus the points.
Yeah, me too. I took the Steelers as well. I think the Giants are going to stink, and I'm not being a hater. Some people might think that, but I think the Giants are going to stink this year. I don't know why. I just have that feeling.
Pittsburgh, considering all that went wrong with Pittsburgh last year, with Roethlisberger getting hurt, where they were down to their third string, that Duck Hodges guy, right? Yeah, you think of all that, and they were still 8-8 last year in the playoff hunt. So just a testament to the kind of Mike Tomlin. And Tomlin's a guy that I feel like the media's kind of turned on. Where they, this guy is even a good coach at this point.
Which is absurd. Yeah,
he's legit. When he was with the Vikings as defensive coordinator, and he left. This is Brad Childress' first year. I wanted him to stay. I wanted them to fire Childress and promote him. He's good
for you.
He's good.
Yeah.
But so I have Pittsburgh minus the 4.5, and
Mike
then
has Steelers too.
We got Tennessee how is Tennessee getting points in Denver?
Denver stinks, and Tennessee's coming off the playoff.
Yeah, I don't understand. They're getting a point and a half. I think they win that.
My bad. Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay. See, I didn't even realize I was picking Tennessee regardless, but that's wild. Yeah, I don't understand that. Maybe something's wrong. Maybe it's Tannehill. Maybe they don't trust Tannehill, but I don't know. But Derrick Henry's going to run all over that team, or maybe they like Jerry Jeudy. They're a big Jerry Jeudy fan. I don't know what's going on there, but
right. Yeah, so I'm going with Tennessee. I think they're a team that's obviously headed in the right direction. They got the stability with Vrabel and so on. So,
right.
I got them plus a point and a half.
And you got the tiebreaker points as what? What's your tiebreaker points?
I didn't do tiebreaker points.
I didn't do that. I got 50 on the tiebreaker points. Mike has the Broncos. He picked the Broncos, which is surprising. And he has 31, 14, 45 total. And he goes, oh, ballsy. He writes down. So
tiebreaker points. Let's go 39, 23-16. Tennessee wins.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Those are
one of those wacky scores now with now the kickers miss. Back in the day, be like, 24-17, 28-24. Now it's like, I'm going to go with like 23-16.
Pretty funny. All right. So let's wrap up this podcast like we do every week with the Knicks poll question. So the Knicks poll question, I started off with Knicks fans, because if I say Knicks fans, then only Knicks fans are going to respond to this tweet, of course. And I said, Knicks fans, do you want them to trade Julius Randle? Yes, no matter what. Depends on the deal. Or no, let's see him with Tibbs. What do you think the answer was, and what do you think it should have been? Dolan.
I'm sorry. So repeat what you just said. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. And nobody cares anyway. Do you want them to trade the Knicks to trade Julius Randle? The first answer is yes, no matter what. The second is depends on the deal. Like, maybe. And the next one is no, let's see him with Tibbs. What do you think was the answer, and what do you think the answer should have been?
See what the deal is was probably what the most common one was.
Correct. And
that's probably what should be what I would say is vote for as well.
Right. And I agree. And that one with 58.1% of the votes. And yes, no matter what was 30.9%. And no, let's see him with Tibbs is 11%.
That's just irrational hate at that point. They're saying, just get him off this team.
That's what I'm saying, man. It's too much. People are too hard on the guy. I know
he's not a lead guy. Yeah.
Right.
That was a problem. He was miscasted last year.
Yeah. They gave it a shot. They're like, all right, this is your chance. And he tried and he couldn't do it. And that's fine. But that doesn't mean you got to trade him. That doesn't mean he stinks. You know what I mean? Like, I know the spin moves in the lane drive everybody crazy and drives me crazy. But at the same time, you just give him some structure. Give him a point guard. Give him a coach. Now we have a coach. We'll see what happens. So I'm going to read some of these fan responses. So we have our boy at L_Nino 201. That's my guy. He goes, for a first rounder, I doubt they sign him after the final year of that non-guaranteed contract. After the final year of that non-guaranteed contract expires anyway. He was more of a stopgap guy, and I don't think he fits into the Knicks' future plans due to his lack of shooting as a big. Hence the rumors of us signing a stretch four now. So, okay, that makes sense. Then we have Michael. He's at DJ Smoothie 17. I get that he has some value, but as the NBA continues to change, his only feasible role is probably a small ball five or playing the four next to a five who can shoot. Otherwise, he crushes floor spacing, which kills RJ and Mitch, who you have more invested in. I'm sorry. That's a good point. Feel free to jump in whenever you want. But then we have Ben Little. We have at Trust Benny. So seeing anyone with Tibbs is worth it. So that's kind of the homer pick, the homer thought. But I think we'll see what the deal is. Is kind of the best way to go. Then we have Chris. I'm going to botch your name, Chris Persianian. He's at Chris Persianian with a K. He goes, voted if there was an option between the first two, I would have taken that. I definitely would like to see him gone. If we're building around RJ and Mitch, then he does not fit on this roster. But I don't want to trade him at all costs. If I can't move him, I won't lose any sleep over it.
What was there a rumor with the Hornets involving was it Terry Rozier, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. So the contracts aligned, were they
I believe
both
so.
come off the books of the same year?
I believe so, but you know how it is. Knicks fans were like, "No, he stinks. If he's not a superstar, he stinks." So they don't want Rozier. I wanted the Knicks to sign Rozier this offseason. I was like, "Just get him." He's he's not great, but he can be a starting point guard. He can be okay. He's going to be better than Dennis Smith Jr. And I don't know, whatever. What do I know, right? And then we have our final fan shout out. We have E Strict. He's at IARE Joe, so IR Joe. Goes, not flipping him for nothing, but I prefer not having to watch my power forward bring the ball up, spin into the paint, and promptly turn it over nightly.
It's not about the spin move. It's more about the dribble behind the back, which I'm like, they consistently went to.
Right. This is not NBA Street. You don't have.
What's the other? It's a rumor recently came out with Utah, right? With Mike Conley. Would you do that?
Yeah. No. And I'm not. I'm stuttering. I just feel like you get Mike Conley. It's just the same thing over and over. You're going to give up Julius Randle. You're going to give up draft picks. I can't do it, man. I can't do it. I'd rather try just sign at that point. If you're getting Mike Conley, I know he played really well in the playoffs, and he's really, he played, people are like, oh, he stinks. He was hurt a lot this year and he played well in the playoffs. He's still good. I don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not saying he sucks, but I feel like you can sign somebody who's semi close to him, like with a DJ Augustin or Jeff Teague. I know Teague kind of stinks now, but just somebody who can be that stopgap veteran guy that you're looking for. I know we got to get rid of Elfrid Payton. I like Elfrid Payton a lot, but I just feel like he's more of a selfish point guard, like Channing Frye said that on his podcast, where he's like he gets his selfish stats, he gets his selfish assists, which is kind of didn't really make sense to me. But then you watch some of these games and he just ignores RJ Barrett and he hates RJ Barrett. You can tell, and it's just get him out of here. So I would rather sign a veteran point guard than trade assets to get a veteran point guard. I'll just put it that way. What do you think? You want Conley?
It depends. Like I said, I don't want to deal away draft picks, especially the draft picks that could really be I'm actually I'm in agreement with you with the Dallas pick for next year. That's totally unprotected. Where because if if Porzingis has setbacks with his knee or if it acts up where he's only able to play, let's say 55, 60 games during the season, and then you have Luka, who obviously he's been injured at times where. Right. So who knows what happens with that Dallas pick? I agree with you on that. I think it can slip right into the lottery. He may get like the 11th overall pick, which would be great. But I mean, if it's one of those, I don't know. I like the idea of having a veteran, established guy who, DJ Augustine is. I don't know. I like the idea of, as you know from this episode, Chris Paul, Mike Conley. I like that veteran guy who's just going to bring instant credibility and just get things moving in the right direction sooner rather than later.
I understand.
Because these rookies that you wanted, the rookie point guard that you envision, like who knows what that's going to be? That could be a totally, a guy who's going to need years to get seasoned and develop that way. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at some of the list of free agent point guards. I hear what you're saying. Like you don't want to slow down the growth of RJ Barrett and Mitchell Robinson because you drafted a point guard. Like I get what you're saying, right? That's your point. But because those guys like Chris Paul, like they're not the Damian Lillard, like Kyrie type point guard where they're the scoring type guy. I feel like they're still more of the, I gotcha.
Run the offense, stuff like that. And
I gotcha. Here's a quick list before we wrap it up here on Bad Weather Fans. Thanks for listening. We have some free agent point guards unrestricted. We have Jeff Teague, Goran Dragic, Brandon Knight, which I can't believe.
Dragic is nice, I think.
Yeah, Dragic would be good. Yeah. We have Dellavedova, no thanks. Jordan Clarkson, no thanks. Nope. Fred VanVleet, we know about him. DJ Augustin, we were talking about him. Unrestricted is De'Aaron Fox. He's not going anywhere. Chris Dunn, no thanks. Rondo, Napier, Michael Carter-Williams, Moutier. Let's see.
Napier was where this past year? He was on the Nets a couple years ago.
I feel like he was in Minnesota. Let's see. Oh, Washington. Gary Payton in the second. No thanks. There's a bunch of now we have like nothing.
Those guys are nothing. I don't know.
We have Cheese is out there too. Able to steal one. Oh, he's restricted from the Nets. He's restricted, but whatever. I'm sure the Nets will bring him back. But either way, so there's like slim pickings, but it's pretty much Dragic or Augustin or T that are out there. For a solid, point guard veteran. Rondo he's not going to go to a shitty team. He's going to go to a good one if he's going to go anywhere else. He's going to be that.
And you got to worry about his attitude also. You don't want him on a losing team, right?
Where he gets pissed off.
Right, and just who knows what kind of negative presence is going to bring, where it's just going to then sour and corrupt the younger players. So just bring in a winner. It's all about bringing that winning mentality. That's why I like Conley. I like Chris Paul. Those guys have been winners and pretty much everywhere they've been. So
right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Dolan J. Trump, thanks for joining Bad Weather Fans. I believe this was episode 27. I didn't even put that into the podcast, but who cares? Nobody cares. Everybody's listening. This is probably our 5th YouTube video that we've done. Thanks for joining. You look great in your photo. I really appreciate you coming on the Bad Weather Fans podcast with Mike and Alex. Mike, congrats again on the baby. This is recorded Saturday morning now it's 10:22 a.m. in Eastern Standard Time. If you're wondering, and just in case something happens like in 5 minutes once we end the show, like it always does. So Thanks for listening, and we have to have you on again, Mr. Trump. All right.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks for having me. All right.
Have a good one. Thanks, guys.